how to sing like Lemmy from Motörhead. Try and attempt this one. Usually when I see Motörhead cover, the people are doing it or trying to do Lemmy, they tend to sing well over the top, or they do the sort of the death metal type growl thing, like Sepultura covering, Orgasmatron. I am the one, Orgasmatron. That kind of thing. Which, I'm not dissing it, but it's not Lemmy. And also, that said, I don't claim to be any like major expert handing out pearls of wisdom, but all I can say is I've been an irredeemable Motörhead banger for nearly 30 years now, 45 today, and so this is my take on it anyway. The first thing to say, really, the sort of oddity, one of the oddities of it, was Lemmy had quite a high singing voice. It's almost like a Welsh tenor, but a sort of Welsh choir type voice almost. You hear even back in Sam Gopal's Dream, there's a song, he nicked the riff, The Sky Is Crying, he nicked it for Dead and Gone much later on the Snakebite Love album, Motörhead's 1998 Snakebite Love album. I'll try and put a link to it. There's a video of it actually. When he was like 24 or 5, he joined this guy who played tablas. Anyway, but they did The Sky Is Crying, and you can hear there he's got a high voice. And he went into Hawkwind, then so obviously sang on their biggest hit, Silver Machine, and then he's not gruffing it yet, but you can hear it's getting harder. Well, I just took a ride on a silver machine, and I'm still feeling mean. And then it flies sideways through time. He pushes it there, and that was the thing of he's going to go on to Motörhead and this whole thing of everything being amped up to 11, like Spinal Tap guitar amps, everything goes up past 10. So he's going to take that one when he's really pushing it and just use it universally. I always liked Lemmy. He could spin a good yarn, obviously, and he said, like in the early days, I think even when it was like Larry Wallace and Lucas Fox, the very original Motörhead lineup, and it said when they were rehearsing, it was either pay some money to get rent microphones, or they'd have some money to get some beers in, special brew, really strong English beer. So they go for the beers. That's why Lemmy he said that's why he shouted to try and heard it. He had no microphone. Great story. And but still, when they made the On Parole album, the very first Motörhead album that didn't get released till 79, it was recorded in 75. I'm not going to attempt it because it's way too high for me, but he does, like, for example, the Iron Horse. He rides, I just said I wouldn't try to attempt it, but that kind of really laid back and that sort of scratchy wah-wah riff, and it's definitely, it's miles apart when you first hear it, and you've grown up, as it were, you listen to the mighty Iron Horse off No Sleep to Hammersmith. What's this? And he's singing really high, and then sort of building up to the glory days, approaching sort of 79, 80 to 82, the classic lineup and all that sort of thing. Obviously going much beyond that, but let's go up to there for starters. When they were going through their earning their spurs type thing on the road, playing every dive. If you listen to any bootlegs from that period, you're right, Lemmy was just pushing it night after night. A lot of things like Blitzkrieg to Birmingham and stuff. Again, mentioned like Iron Horse. The Blitzkrieg from Birmingham version of that. He's Horse, singing Iron Horse, Lemmy is Horse. His voice is shot, and on a lot of those early recordings, his voice is gone. They were playing night after night. And it's not like Lemmy was, gargling with honey and taking it easy. He was like caning the 40 cigarettes a day and whiskey and all that sort of thing. Some might say gave him that heavy rasp, helped give him that heavy rasp, but there was no easy way to get it. He earned that voice, and even much later on, he said his voice it would go sometimes in the middle of a tour. And an interview from him, he said, which can make things rather difficult. So yeah, we got that rock voice, but still, he'd do the high thing, like, and sometimes in the same song, he'd mix up the sort of the gruff, dirty biker voice and the high voice on the same track. He said when he came off the road for a while, he'd get it back. And for me, it's always like something like Overnight Sensation. So he's singing that, the verse, I'm only talking
So can you hear with me? Maybe you should listen. How hard can it be?
That sort of thing. But then on the what's it, the bridge or the middle bit? No, I know I've got to try it. You know you. He could never really do it live. He'd sing a different line, a flatter line, but off the actual recording, you know you put the hurt on me. You do it all the same, but that ain't supposed to hurt at all. Our faces fit the frame. He sort of go clean, stay clean. He'd go clean, as it were. And again, so the amplifier's noises if I turn it off and on. And also, secondly, if you hear some other noise, I've got to keep the fan on because it's nearly June in Japan, so it's getting hotter than the surface of the sun, and my aircon's broke, the aircon unit. But then you get, these are songs I don't think you ever tried to attempt live. The mighty Don't Believe a Word from Overnight Sensation, 1996 Overnight Sensation.
Don't make that face, I won't be pleased.
Don't make a sideshow of yourself,
of all the people we released.
Sometimes I think you're someone else. He'd mixed those two up, which was really nice. And just as an aside, or related to that, I saw Motörhead, had a good luck to see him at the Covent Garden Opera House in February 2004. My mate, it was Ken Livingstone, was the mayor of London. I'm from London, England, and there was a thing called Wild Week in London, and they put two really different things that seemed like anathema to each other, like Motörhead and the Covent Garden Opera House. They'd stick them together. Anyway, my mate won tickets. He rang on the local radio, or the radio show that was giving away tickets. 400, I think it was 400 tickets. He said, if you get 2 tickets, I'll go naked. Thankfully, we didn't have to. Anyway, but I don't know whether, because I've seen Motörhead before, but like you know, Brixton Academy or whatever. So this was a smaller venue. It seemed like Lemmy's voice was split. It was coming from two. There was like the higher, sort of more trebly type things, and that real gruff biker voice coming from another end, and it was just absolutely fucking wicked. You know, you're starting. We are Motörhead, yeah.
We've been fired to your heart and mighty thunderbolt. We charge your batteries, we save your soul.
That kind of thing, but it was kind of split, like I say. And later on, I mentioned this to a mate of mine who's a sound engineer. I remember he said, he said, yes, an old trick, but he never explained to me how the whole old trick was done. I guess it was a sound guy, Hobbsy, David Hobbs. I think it was, you know, maybe years of being with Motörhead service, he learned how to do it, to get the best out of Lemmy's voice. And I just happened to notice that time at a smaller venue. But it was absolutely wicked. So, in my opinion, I don't know if I mentioned this already, I've tried to record this video a few times, so I'm forgetting what I said now, but when I've seen Motörhead covered a lot of times, it's kind of, well, for me, I overdone, you know, the Sepultura,
I am the one, orgasmatron,
the sort of death metal type vocals, which is fine. I think I may have said this already, actually. But how to get that, you know, if you're not from Stoke-on-Trent in England, North England, and a confirmed cigarette smoker and doing the whiskey, how do you get that sort of rasp? I tend to breathe in. This may sound very odd now, I'm about to say, but screw it, I'm just going to get it out there, so to speak. Breathe in. Let's go Dr. Rock. I'll turn down my gain so it doesn't make so much noise. There we go. Just go, alright. Almost like a Lemmy sort of, you know, copy that. Alright. Tensing the abdominals there. Pushing it out and kind of feeling the throat constrict. You definitely don't want to be singing just from the throat, because you'll shoot your voice very, very quickly. There's got to be, the push has got to be from the abdomen, from the, yeah, the abdomen. But, and then just filling the throat, squeeze a bit as you push it. Alright. And by singing that, myself personally, I've got quite a narrow range. I can't go high. but I find by singing in this style, you can actually bluff it a lot. If I go for the Watcher, because it goes, the Watcher's another one. See, it's hard for me to say, we're looking in on you now, or we're looking in. It's too high, it's too low or too high. But let's see if I explain what I mean now. I'm trying to do it consciously, it's difficult.
We're looking there.
Pushing it from the outside. You can kind of bluff things that you couldn't normally sing, so to speak.
We're looking in on you now. What do you think you can do now?
Now, next, but then you jump up to the D, which is really high. So I've got to kind of go back to it.
What do you think you can do now? You're very small from way out here.
Right. So then the main thing is I can't think of the word juxtaposition. I don't know if it's the right word. There's normal rules not applying to Motörhead, shall we say. When you see vocal coaches trying to do it, trying to explain how Lemmy did it, yeah. Nah, dude, you got to live that stuff. You got to hear it year in, year out. It's not just something to be studied as an aside. As you also produce videos on how to sing like Sting or something. You know, it's something I get a bit precious about. Motörhead's above all that. Pay reverence to the master, who was Lemmy. So the main thing is that you've not actually got to try too hard. It sounds like, and say some people singing Motörhead and they're busting a blood vessel and everything's out on their head and stuff. But you can actually do it quite quietly.
We're looking in on you now.
Just by getting that breath there from the abdomen, pushing up, squeezing the throat, and out it comes.
We are.
And yeah, you can just don't even have to say words to practice it. Just experiment. And then as it goes higher, I find me personally have to push more.
Very small from way out here.
I mean, that is pushing it there for me. And then back to nice neutral ground.
Everything you will feel is fear.
But still, for myself personally, it doesn't really matter so much myself personally, but it's more about Lemmy. But if, for example, playing Iron Horse, just on the bass, I need the guitar to get the.
He rides a road that don't have no end, an open highway that don't have no bend.
Well, that's sounding better than it does normally. But normally it's too low for me, or certainly it'd be too high. I need the guitar to get that kind of, that where suddenly it middles out. Like I say, I go back to the Watcher, so I'm not babbling on here, but I'll try and get it across the best way I can. Normally, like I say, normally we are looking in on you now. And that's the way you'd hear maybe some people go,
we're looking in on you.
Be that sort of thing, or way too high. You want to find that song, that middle plane.
We are looking in on you now. We are.
That's my, from the abdomen, squeeze the throat, and actually, and less is more, the sort of the Lemmy Zen type thing. It feels like you should be giving everything, and the vessel should be busting in your head and all this sort of thing. You actually back off. You don't have to sing that loudly. Lemmy had quite a high, and when he sang, he had quite a soft voice as well, when he wasn't sort of shouting. This is just that everything is like, it sounds like the opposite of what Motörhead was. But sometimes you listen to Lemmy being interviewed or something, and it was true. He had quite a soft voice and a sort of Welsh tenor voice and all this sort of thing. But just through sheer pushing it, years and years of touring and stuff, he kind of got that rasp. But it's copyable. When I was singing a couple of Motörheads here in Nagasaki, obviously the last year or whatever it's been now, this corona thing, we haven't had such strict lockdowns as England, Australia, America, but gigs have been cancelled and stuff, so I haven't played for a while. And that normally you never play for more than half an hour here anyway. There's normally a lot of bands on in Japan. But I reckon I could if I was, what did Motörhead used to play for? Almost like an hour and a half. And I reckon I could just about do that. So just by doing my style of the way I've learned to sing, try and sing like Lemmy, approaching Lemmy. I say just 15 minutes now. So I hope this has been. I've tried to record this video loads of times, so it might sound a bit gabbled, but I'm feeling fairly satisfied with how it's gone this time. So I'll leave it and I'll upload it. Yeah, it's just through nearly 30 years of being a Motörhead banger and just having to, or wanting to sing like Lemmy. I've kind of got that thing, but I say not claiming to be any sort of very far from some sort of, you know, expert on it or anything, but just handing out my way of doing it. Anyway, cheers.